Well, for the December 2020 Level 3 candidates that are still standing, yes, there are quite a few of you still scheduled to write for December, although that can change. At this point, you're locked into December. If you're scheduled for December, your only way out is if your center gets canceled. So you have to prepare as if this is going to happen. There are 40 days left. So let's look at what strategy we have in the next 40 days. So we'll look at the resources that you have available to you, or the resources that you should have available to you. From whatever source that you get them from, but you should have these types of resources. And then on the next screen, we'll look at the strategy of how you would use them. Resource number 1, mock exams. This is the season. You got 40 days left. You should be in mock exam mode now. If you have a subscription to my site, within that subscription, you have access to 2 past CFAI AM exams that have been upgraded to reflect the 2020 content, because there were a lot of changes. So where the questions were older and out of date, I've upgraded them. So you have those available for you. You have 4 of my AM mock exams and 4 PM exams. And on the CFAI site, I believe, you may have more, I'm not sure, but I believe there's at least 1 AM exam provided to you by the Boston CFA Society. That's part of your subscription with CFAI. That's provided for you. So just between this, you've got 2 and 4 is 6. You've got 7 AM exams available for you. Having more doesn't make a lot of sense. 7 is a lot to get through. Keep in mind they're 3 hours long. That's 21 hours of writing exams. Again, all of these are included with the full subscription. So if you do have a full subscription, just look at the left menu, Exam Builder. It's all right there. Everything is there for you. You can download the PDF answer sheets and off you go. Also on our site, we have review videos. There we have 29 of the 34 readings. I'm not counting the 2 case studies. There are 34 content readings. 29 of the 34 readings have reviews. 10 hours of review videos to get through those 29. Plus we have seminars, 20 seminars. The seminars dive deep into particular topics that are sometimes difficult to understand. It's usually where a lot of questions cluster, and they usually end up being good exam topics. 8 hours worth of seminars there, and we'll look at how we're going to use the review videos on the next screen. Also a question bank. CFAI provides you with a question bank. If you have a subscription on our site, you have a question bank as well. There's 1,778 multiple choice questions. And of those questions, these are what are called formative assessment. Formative because they're meant to help you learn. Mock exams are what are called summative assessments. And mock exam questions aren't really there to help you learn. They're truly there just to test you. Hopefully the answers are written well enough and explained well enough that if you don't understand, you are learning at the same time. But question banks is really where you learn. In our question bank at level 3, we have questions written at 4 levels of difficulty. At the level of understanding, a step higher to application, a step higher to analysis, and a step higher to evaluation. The level 3 mock exam typically breaks down like this. You got about 10% of questions that just test your basic understanding. There's not a lot of calculate at level 3, believe it or not. There's about 10% of the exam that will be on application, which is typically to calculate something. But analysis and evaluation, they're higher levels of cognitive thinking. That's pretty much where you're going to be tested. So if you're memorizing your way through this, you can't memorize your way through analysis or evaluation. You really have to have a deep understanding of what's going on there. So you want questions that are going to test you at that cognitive level. So our mock exams, we've again these 4 right here, the AM and the 4 PM. We hold very tight to the LOS, so we don't go outside of the LOS. So if the LOS has particular keywords in there and you're expected to know a certain thing, that's what we stick to. So if there's no calculate in that LOS, we try as best we can to avoid any calculation and stay true to the LOS. However, we will write them at this level. Very little is written at the level of understanding on the mock exams. If you want more understanding, that's where you're going to want to go through a question bank. If you want to apply things, and use formulas more often, you're going to want to use a question bank. Question bank is a great place where if there's an LOS that does not have the word calculate, but I believe that if you knew how to calculate this stuff, you'd gain a deeper understanding of it, then yeah, that's where you'd put it in a question bank, but you certainly wouldn't want it showing up in a mock exam, nor would you want to test small, little, tiny bits of detail that miss the LOS entirely. So all of our questions are drawn directly from the LOS. It starts there. I write the LOS down at the top of the page, and that's it. I stay within that box, and the question must tie back to the LOS. So there's the question bank, and for those of you who are subscribers, and these AM weekend workshops really are just for subscribers, there are 3 weekends in November, November 14th, 15th, 21, 22, and 28, 29, where you'll see 3 more mock exams. So on top of these 4, on top of these 2, and on top of this one, there are 3 more. So far, 72% of the content of each exam is brand new. The other 28% are the difficult questions from these 4, because there are some that are quite challenging. Well, those are great to dive deep into. I say 72%. Right now, 72% of these exams are brand new. That number is going to increase because for the next 2 weeks, I'm focusing on writing a few more questions for that. So it might be as high as 85 to 90% of these exams are going to be brand new. But the description that we have on our site says that at least 70% will be new content, and no more than 30% will be content from the AM exams that we have that are more difficult, the more difficult questions. These are all done with peer grading, by the way, for the weekend. So when the weekend starts, when the session starts, you'll have available a PDF to download, which will be somebody else's answers. There won't be any names on it. It'll just be a code based on the code for the PDF. You will grade it right online. And then once the session is over, you will have your grading done by somebody else. So you'll see, because you can grade your own, but you tend to be a little bit more generous because you say, well, that's what I meant. I'm going to give myself the mark. Whereas another grader might say, well, I don't know that that's what you meant. So you'll get a more honest grading with the peer grading. And it's a live session. We'll go through each question in detail, broken down by keyword. Here's the keyword for this. Here's how you would answer this particular keyword so that you have an idea of what you're expected to write. For example, if the question asks you to identify, that's 1 bullet point. Identify 3 things. You know you're writing 3 bullet points. You're not writing 3 paragraphs. You're writing 3 bullet points. And when you're identifying the case fact. That's all. Things like that to save you a lot of time. So if you have an identify question, you're not spending 80, 90 words on each bullet point. That's way too many. You're writing maybe 8, 9, 10 words per bullet point, and that's it, moving on. Things like that. The sessions, since we're going through each question, and then I open it up to a bunch of questions, and I'll answer whatever questions there are. I plan to stay on the weekend as long as it takes to get through all the questions. I want to try to get through as many as I possibly can. So these could end up being 6, 7, 8 hour sessions where we just go through each question. And if a tutoring session is in order, where can you explain this concept in more detail, that's where I'll do it. Each session is 240 Canadian. Each one will be videoed so that you'll have access to the video later. Although, since they're so long, I don't know when you'll actually have the time to review it, but we'll make it available for you. If you think better in US dollars, it's 182 US. Now, our mock exams up here are 100 Canadian for the 2 past CFAI that are upgraded, the 4 AM and the 4 PM. If you think better in US, that's 76. We do not break out the review videos or the question bank from the full subscription. The full subscription is $380. So if you're going to add the mock exams, really, it's only an incremental $280 to get all the reviews, all the question banks, all the full-length videos as well. And you cannot add an AM weekend workshop unless you have the full package. And I've been asked why I do that. It's because I can't control what you know when you come to me from somewhere else. I don't know how many holes you have in your knowledge. And since I am going to be answering questions, I don't have the time to fill in all the holes from everybody who used different providers who may or may not have provided you with all that you need to know. If you were with us through level 3, I at least know what you need to know because I know you've been through the content. So I at least have that comfort saying, well, you know that. I can assume that you've heard me say this or heard me say that. But when we get, for example, we have subscribers at level 3 who come to us having never been with us at level 1 and level 2, and we find that they end up using the comment section more than other candidates because they have some holes in their knowledge from level 2 and level 1 that weren't quite filled out, so they tend to ask more questions. So we can't have that slow us down on these weekend workshops, so it really is just for those who have been through my content. Then I can assume you know certain things. Okay, so there's our resources. The big one is mock exams. You're going to want resources for mock exams. And of course, if you have a subscription on our site, you already have 6 a.m. exams, 4 p.m. exams, plus you have whatever is on CFAI's site as well. You also have access to the review videos and the seminars, and you have access to the question bank. Let's look at how we put that in use. All right, so this is all on strategy, and I put approximate hours per week for the next 40 days that you're going to be spending on this. You have just a little under 6 weeks. I'm assuming that you actually only have 39 days because I'm sure on election day everybody's eyes are going to be glued to the TV for the night. You're going to lose that night. It's going to be kind of hard to study when you got something like that going on in the background, right? 3 hours down here, 6.5 here. This is about a minimum of 17 hours a week from here to the exam. A minimum of 17 hours per week. Minimum. I'm not saying maximum, but minimum. What are we going to do here? AM exams. You're going to focus heavily on the AM exam. When I look at results of candidates who did not make it in level 3, and every year when we have new subscribers coming in, people who didn't make it want advice, and I can't give advice unless I see results. It's almost universal. I wouldn't say 100%, but well into the 90%. That it is the AM exam that caused the miss, not the PM exam. And there might be some confusion as to how to write these AM exams. And the AM exam, because it's a blank sheet of paper, you think, well, what do I do here? It's such a big sheet of paper that the motivation is to write the answer and teach the answer at the same time. This is the answer because of all of these things. And that's the wrong strategy. You're not teaching the grader the answer. You're simply telling them the answer that they already know the answer. They want to know that you know it. You don't have to teach it to them. So the AM, a lot of practice in the AM is necessary. And sometimes it's hard to stop writing. You think, oh, this one more sentence will really show them that I know it. Well, yeah, you've already shown them. 1 or 2 bullet points, you've already shown them, right? So you're going to focus more on that. And your goal here is to get it done in 3 hours, to get every question answered in 3 hours, which means you're going to force yourself to write less and less. Get to the point, move on. Get to the point, move on. If you got more time at the end, then come back and, fill in a little bit more to make yourself feel comfortable. But don't do it while it's happening. So AM exam, there are 2 seminars on our site that deal specifically with the AM exam. Watch those first. It's about an hour of your time. Watch them first. It'll save you a lot of grief when you start writing those exams. It'll move you ahead of the game because you'll already have an idea of what's going on in the AM. Do 1 AM exam every 4 to 5 days because you have 7 total, 6 on our site, 1 on the CFAI site. If you're doing it every 4 to 5 days, that's 28 to 35 days of the 40 days that you have. I mean, in the last 3-4 days before the real exam, I don't know that you want to be doing a mock exam. At that point, you're pretty much done what you're done. You just want to consolidate the small points. So about every 4 to 5 days, you're going to do an AM exam. That's going to take you roughly about 7.5 hours a week. You can self-grade the exam. Each of ours have an enhanced answer key plus a video walkthrough. The CFAI one, the Boston CFA, the Boston Society exam, we don't have that one, nor do we have the answers to that one, nor do we want anyone to send it to us. We don't want to cross those lines, so that one might be a little bit more difficult for you to grade. And then 1 PM exam per week. if you've seen the PM exam at level 2, you know what they are, vignettes with multiple choice answers. So you're prompted in the answer, but the questions will require a higher level of thinking. They won't just be based on understanding, so they will be a little bit more challenging than what level 2 questions will be. But in the end, they really are just multiple choice questions. We have 4 of those, so if you're doing one a week, that's 28 days of the 40 that are being filled. And this is critical here. Read every answer. Once you do it, now you have to go through it. Read every answer, even the ones you got right. Did you get it correct for the right reason? Sometimes we get lucky and we guess and we get an answer and we think, okay, great, I know that. Do you? Read the answer. Are you sure that's why you got it right, or did you just guess and get lucky? Make sure. If you got it wrong after you read the answer, do you understand why you got it wrong? On the multiple choice, I guarantee you, if you get like 7 wrong, I guarantee you got probably 3 or 4 wrong because you read the question wrong. Slow down. Read the question first. Make sure you know what it's asking for. Is it asking for most likely, least likely, correct, incorrect? Make sure you know which direction the question is. Then go to the vignette and read for the answer. Reviewing your exams are faster than writing your exams, but you'll spend about 3 hours a week reviewing. Don't brush that off. Reviewing the exam is just as important for reviewing and consolidating your knowledge than reading or watching review videos or reading your notes. It's just as critical. You want to know why you got things wrong. You want to make sure you understand why you got things wrong so you don't make that same mistake again. You want to make sure you got the questions right for the right reason so you don't fall into a sense of false security saying, I got that. The AM exam, make sure you're circling the right answer. Because if it is, let's say you have a choice between up and down, and then you have to put some bullet points. You may get your bullet points right, and you said, okay, here's why everything should be up, and you circle down. That's the end of it. Circle down, that's wrong. None of this matters. None of that matters. So be careful on the circling. Make sure when you're done, look at it again. Say, did I circle the right one? Am I certain on that? Review videos. They're only 10 hours long. If you cycle through them at 1.5 times speed, you can get through them all in 6.5 hours. Which means you can cycle through all those reviews, 29 of those 34 readings, 29 reviews. You can cycle through them every week from here to the end of the exam or to the day that you write the exam. So if you add these 3 up, you're at a minimum of 17 hours a week. Mock exam should be taking priority. The AM should be taking priority in that category as well. Most of your time should be spent on that and reviewing those answers, making sure you fully understand what the answer is. And listen, every question, every mock exam question on our site has a comment section. If you don't understand it, if you say, well, how come it's not this? Ask. During from here to the exam time, I get way too many questions asked every single day. There's simply no way that I can keep up with them, so I prioritize. From here to the exam, it's exam questions. So when I get up in the morning, I look at all the questions that I have. I go to all the ones that deal with mock exams first. I answer those first. Those have priority. Then I'll go to the question bank questions next, and I answer those. Then I go to the reading videos if I have time, because at that point I've hit all of the questions, and that's usually where the more critical questions are. So you'll have that support as well. That if you're reading an answer and you're going, okay, well I can see that, but option C sounds kind of the same way. What am I missing here? Why is it not C? And sometimes it just hinges on a little change in definition, or there's a word in the question that sets the context where option C is not available. Now, we've tried our best to explain why something is an answer, and if necessary, explain why something is not an answer. But that doesn't mean because I write it, everyone understands it, because we all see the world differently. We all understand things differently, right? So that's available for you as well. So now I say we have a minimum of 17 hours a week here. For some of you, especially working professionals with families, 17 hours a week may be tough. You're looking at 2.5, maybe up to 3 hours every single day, but it is only 40 days. This is the last exam. This is the home stretch. You don't have to do 17 hours, but if you are going to do less than that, I certainly wouldn't move from the mock exam strategy. Do what you can. Throw those reviews first thing in the morning. Get up an extra hour early and just have a coffee or tea, put your headphones on and listen for an hour every morning. Over the course of the week, there you go. You've cycled through all of the review videos. So if you got an hour, you just put your headphones on and you just cycle through them an hour at a time and you just keep going. That takes care of the morning. Then you only need about an hour and a half to 2 hours every evening. I'm sure you can find that, especially for the final stretch. Let's talk about what happens if the exam gets canceled on you. If it gets canceled on you, we will move you to 2021. We were upgrading, allowing everyone who was canceled to upgrade to 2021 for a $10 or $15 difference, depending on when you bought your level 3 option. If your center gets canceled, we will extend that offer to you. So don't worry about not being able to move it to 2021. The deadline that we had was October 20th for moving to 2021. If your center was already canceled, there was no point in waiting. If you were already canceled, you may as well move. We do anticipate sometime next week. There are some countries that we're looking at right now that I think, that's going to go. That one is probably going to go. And there's some states that I think that are probably still going to go. So there'll be more. We'll move you to 2021. I don't want you worrying about extra costs or paying for everything all over again. We will extend the same offer to you. If you buy the mock exam separately, you pay the $100 to buy the mock exam separately, and your exam center gets canceled, that's all right. Let us know. We will extend your access to the exam that you need in 2021, but in 2021 they'll be different. They'll be different because they won't be written exams on paper. They'll be shorter, which means we're going to have to modify a bunch of our questions to fit the 135 point instead of the 180 point AM exam. But we'll move you. You won't lose anything there. So if you're thinking, well, I don't want to buy any extra resources or pay for any extra resources because I don't know if I'm going to be canceled, don't worry about it. If you buy mock exams and you're canceled, we'll put you where you need to be. We'll make sure that you have access for the exam that you need, which would be most likely the May exam. So your access to the current mock exams would just put your account on hold and then reopen it up in I believe it's mid-March when we open up the mock exams under the new format, and you're already paid. So you're good on that one. So don't be too concerned about it's with 40 days. If I buy the subscription, if it gets canceled, well, then it's over. No. It gets canceled. Don't worry. We'll take care of you. One more point. I did say minimum 17 hours a week. We talked about going through the exams and cycling through the reviews because I believe at this point the major learning should be done. So you should be off of the reading videos, off of the reading of the readings themselves, and really into consolidation mode and review mode. Don't shortchange yourself on that. That's critical. That's where a lot of knowledge comes together. That doesn't mean that this is all that you should do. There's question banks. If you have time and you say, well, I need more practice here or there, hit the question banks. It's a minimum of 17 hours a week, but some of you have more time than that available. 40 days, right? And yes, you could get 20 days in, be really ready for it, and find out that you're canceled all the way to May. That's life. You got to roll with the punches. Anyways, there you go. 40 days. Mark it on your calendar.